This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. Hello, my name's Atty. Welcome to the program. Well, let's see. The weather has been erratic. Rains have been intermittent, but when it falls, it really pours. Of course, traffic comes to a standstill. Our politics is getting more confusing, exactly where we are going. Maybe Francis Tolentino of MMDA will, because I surely am a bit confused. Tonight, our program, we'll talk about the other issues that are equally important. A lot of issues that you and I think, dyan lang yan. But in reality, should not escape us. There are many issues that are coming onto the center stage that you and I just think, no big deal. Of course, it's all about the elections, it's all about the politics, it's all about Grace Poll running the citizenship, which we featured on this very TV show when I told you about when Lito David himself told you he was going to go after that citizenship. But many more things seem to keep unfolding day after day. We've got a president who has a propensity to actually put his foot in his mouth. Now, every time he takes it out, does the mud stay in the mouth? That all depends where he walks. Is it always the road to perdition, which is marked with mud? Or is it all just the carpets that he walks on that has nothing on it? You be that judge. On this program, I'd like to generate more critical thought for you who sit back there and watch. We hope you enjoy it. We're going to talk about a number of issues, be it the Constitution, the Asean integration, food security, even anti-dumping. We all know about the garbage that came in from Canada. Now, allow me to introduce to you our guest. He has been here twice before, but I looked him up even more in the internet and I found some quite interesting information about him. Let me introduce him to you. Anthony Amanategi Abad, International Trade Law, provides technical advice and assistance to multinational corporations and business enterprises, international organizations, government and academic institutions on matters of international trade policy and regulation. During Fidel Ramos' time, he was Tariff Commissioner and was responsible for the determination of overall tariff structures for the Philippines. Oh my gosh, we can talk about the Bureau of Customs. The formulation of international trade policy. He's also presided over anti-dumping and other trade remedy investigations and monitored regional and multilateral trade relations. He's CEO of the Philippine International Trading Corporation. He was administrator of the National Food Authority in charge of food security and the management of QR Rice. Chairman and president of Food Terminal, Inc. He also served as a consultant for special operations at the National Security Council, where his work included trade policy, reform programs in preparation into the Philippine ascension into the World Trade Order. A professor of international economic law and international commercial law at the alma mater Ateneo Law School. A lecturer on globalization and governance of the same School of Government, Ateneo School of Government. A faculty member of the management department of Ateneo de Manila University. He lectured on international trade and competition and policies and institutions of the European Union. Let's see, we can do a lot. We can talk about the ASEAN integration, food security, tariff codes, oh gee, the anti-dumping, labor reform, and so on. Attorney Abad, hi.
Hi, Harry.
Every time I ask you, bumabiyahe ka, o may lecture ka dito, may pupuntahan ka doon. But it's time we sit down and maybe talk again about ano nangyayari dito sa ASEAN.
Yeah.
With your studies, you are a consultant. You are not the government. You're not the practitioner or the professional government has put into that ASEAN integration. Nasana tayo kasi it's September. In about 3 months, on January 1 is already the implementation or the actual implementation of the ASEAN integration.
Well, actually, in December 31, it's supposed to be the start of the ASEAN Economic Community.
Which
or
is
the AEC.
2015. Pero actually,
Which is
December 1
actually,
yan.
yeah, it's a day before December 1.
January
January 1.
2016.
2016. And, before it used to be January 1 of 2015. Then
That's
they
what-
made it December 31.
Yeah, that was my perception, 2015.
So they've been pushing it back, no? And, well, if you look at the different countries, some countries have done some changes, but the kind of changes that you really expect to happen in a real ASEAN economic community haven't happened yet.
Is it
And
because
certainly
the
not even by
countries-
December 31. No?
Is it our fault or is it the fault of the 9 others?
No, I think that, well, I don't know if it's not a matter of fault, but more of the way they manage the negotiation and the programming of this.
Oh my God, as Trump says, we have poor managers,
Yeah.
poor deal closers, di ba? Gaya ni Trump, ni Donald Trump, di ba? We need people in government who can close deals. Yung ba ang problema? They can't seem to see eye to eye.
Well, I think the problem with ASEAN is you have all of these vision, long-term vision and long-term benefits that the crafters and drafters saw, but then you leave it to bureaucrats and diplomats
And it goes to pot.
to implement that. And people are still of the mindset, the very mindset you're trying to change. So,
So while the spirit is correct,
Yeah, the
you've
spirit-
always promoted it. I remember
Yes.
in the very beginning, you always said
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Last
a
time I
natural
was here, we were
occurrence.
talking
Yes.
about it.
And you said it's a natural occurrence and it's good for every other country.
Yes.
And yet the bureaucrats who have taken place, parang ayaw talaga nila. Or tayo, for example, the 60-40 corporate law, we
Yeah.
refuse to touch. The land ownership, di ba? Mining and all the other restrictions, the barriers that we still have. I mean, you're not going to nudge Congress now with with an election coming.
Yeah, but we were hoping that, this is the last stretch, maybe the last chance for some enlightened reforms, in government, but that's wishful thinking, I think.
Why the people incompetent?
Maybe it's not incompetence. Maybe they're competent to the level that they've been brought, the status quo, no. But what the ASEAN integration and I think the future of the world requires a different kind of mindset, a different kind of thinking, not just in our bureaucracy. I mean, in our bureaucracy primarily, but even in private business,
But
even
unlike
in
Europe,
education.
Sa ASEAN, we are so diverse in culture, in religion, history. We're so diverse from the Thais. We're so different from the Vietnamese, even in their history. The Indonesians, ibang-iba din, misking colonizers nila, iba. Di ba? It's, how do we even speak, well, okay, in Europe, they all speak different languages as well. But how do we even merge that? Where religion, authenticity plays a very big role.
I think it's really the drive of business. It's a drive
Now we're
of,
getting somewhere.
Diba?
Dapat.
Yeah, it's a drive of commerce. It's the desire to make the profit, no. And in Europe, they've figured out how to maximize the economies of scale, no. The ease of going from one city or one country to another to decide where to put your manufacturing or your business, your labor, even laborers deciding,
But has Europe gone better after union? Has it really improved? There seems to be two different analyses that has come out. The UK wants to pull out totally. I mean, they didn't even join the monetary system, but
Right.
they're part of the economic system, and now they even want to pull out.
Well, the United Kingdom's always been sort of a
A one-off.
one-off. But I'd say, I mean, maybe having grown up and maybe traveled once, and seen Europe,
They're better off.
Sort of going from the 80s to the 90s. I think they're better off, especially countries like maybe even Greece, Portugal, Spain. They might take it for granted, but if they had continued where they were coming from in the 1970s,
Their economy would have collapsed by now.
or they would have been almost like, I don't know, maybe they would have been like developing countries like us, you know.
Bumalik na sila.
It would have been,
Bumaliktad
they would
na.
have had a much harder time, I think, if they hadn't joined the. They've become quite different because of the
But
European
Greece,
Union.
Greece is, the three countries you mentioned are the ones causing the drain in the European Union today. You take them out, they're relatively healthy. Di ba, financially?
Well,
They're a big drain, especially Greece is a real big drain because, one, they don't even have titles for their lands there. I mean, the titles are incomplete, so much so their taxation is really incompetent.
but then it's not a question of that they'd be better off outside of the union. It's their being in the union and having
That's
to
saving them.
Yeah, and having to stick to certain standards. When you're in the union, certain standards are expected of your governance, of your.
Correct.
But I think for the most part, the Greek government has been left to manage its own monetary and fiscal affairs. And that's where the problem happens. Now, because they're in the union, they are, I guess, an integral part of it. And
Which is, well, based on a lot of other people looking at it from the outside, hindi kaya sila ang cause ng problema ngayon sa European Union. I mean, I look at Greece, then you look at the Germans. I mean, there's a real disconnect here, and they belong to the same association or group of nations. No wonder they're in a mess. But I mean, just looking at, one, the discipline, the culture, the way the people are. Ibang-iba. One likes to sleep all the way until 4 in the afternoon. The other one gets up at 4 in the morning to start working. Baliktad ang discipline eh.
But that's what you were saying. Actually, Europe has a lot of diversity also.
Well, there you
you
go.
think
You
about
corrected me. Tama nga, tama ka.
They're quite diverse.
Unlike America, where you have the United States of America, one federal government, one central bank, one constitution, then maybe it works.
But it's, you know, the U.S., it's been pointed out to me that even before the European Union, the U.S. also started out
Same
that
way.
Independent countries deciding
then,
to come together.
Isa-isa.
Then they take out muna tariffs. Then they decide, let's have a common currency. And then they start, you know, the federal system starts getting stronger. But before, you know, in this, 1700s, 1800s,
Kanya independent sila.
you actually had sort of an economic union there that's also
So let's just say the EU maybe is not yet matured. It's getting there. It's going
probably
through.
evolving into something.
Can we say the same thing with the ASEAN, the 10 countries?
Well, it's
Are we beginning at least to look in that direction? Because that's what you proposed. That's
Yes.
what you wanted. You agreed with ASEAN integration.
Yeah, I do.
You still do?
I still do. I think, in spite of what I see happening in the European Union, I think integration is still the way to go, at least economically, because what it does is it instills a certain level of discipline. Probably it takes time for the discipline to sink in, and
You know,
maybe
to think it's 2015, we're running out of time, we're getting older, and it doesn't, parang, why does it take so long to do anything? Because in business, hindi. We do it now or we don't do it at all. And yet in
Yes.
government, in countries, we seem to allow patience to come into the picture. I wonder why. Is it because we want to do it all together or no one wants to stand out and say, hey, we're going to do this? I love it when I hear Trump. I know they say he's a bit of a nut.
Yeah.
But I love it when he comes up and says, I'm going to do something. He talks like in the private sector, when we have a head or an owner of a company, that's what they do, di ba? The private side, that's
Yes.
what we do. We're going to have to take a short break. They keep lifting their hands. So we'll be right back. Before we go, I'd like to extend my condolences to the family of Attorney Alan Pagia. He's one of our hosts who passed on last Thursday morning. Our hearts are with you. We pray for you. We'll be right back.